Hey, my beautiful people. GrannyDee here with Knit Purlin Squirrel, GrannyDee Thompson. There's Fat Sammy. And still got to get a shelf. My daughter and the manager and her little sister are coming in a couple weeks. Help me clean my mess up and put up some shelves, some squirrel shelves. Here's a little fiber for you. There's that first shawl that I showed you way back when on my first channel. If I haven't shown you my way beautiful bag, woo, look at that. I've had it for a while. I think I have because I was talking about the words in it, words. And it is from, you see that? Bags by Awesome Granny. And it says, respect your knitting. And of course, crocheting as well. And I have done a little more on it. It's just that, you know, my squirrels, my ADD-ness, and working on a whole lot of other whips. I do, before this is going to be a Tom reading, so I'll get to that in just a minute. I think we're in chapter 4. Yep, because last time I read chapter 3 and a little bit of 4. But I did want to start out with a few hoots and hollers. And I'm sure I'm forgetting people, so just put them down in the comments. Or if you want your channel shouted out next time, hooted and hollered, put it in the comments. Pam Rivers, Nana's Boutique. Pam's a wonderful person with a good channel, and she's just starting out. And Madonna Ballard, y'all, that woman cracks me up. And it kindly takes a certain kind of humor to make me giggle. But she's got it in spades. And I believe it is Sue that said it tickles her too, so, or that Madonna tickles her too. And if it's not Sue, I'm sorry. Somebody. I believe it is Sue, though. And Mimi on Cozy Fox Studio. And I think she had a channel before this was a name change. I think it was Yarning with Mimi, if I don't have you confused with somebody else. But anyway, look up Cozy Fox Studio. And DOY Creation 7. You know, her channel, I've hooted and hollered her before. But she also has, she comes on live every Sunday morning. Gosh, we spend a couple hours with her. And Jeanette, and she's just wonderful. And, but she also has a second channel, and I believe it's called the same thing, except Eats, in maybe capital letters, EATS. So DOY Creations 7. And check out the Eats channel also. And she has, you know, her cooking and stuff on there. Okay, we're going to close the book on my little bit of notes that I had there. And hey to my manager Bells and my youngins and grand youngins, besides Bells, Jules, little toe-headed Jules. Okay, here we are back to Tom. And when we last read, let's go back and, oh, and Peppy the Pineapple is watching. And if you don't know who Peppy the Pineapple is, be sure and go over to Heidi's Hangout. And that's Penny. Penny's got a Peppy Pineapple. Penny's Peppy Pineapple. Oh, mercy me. Let's see here. Let's see. What were we at? Oh, Tom was getting spiffied up. Remember? I believe it's his cousin Mary that was shining up his shoes and this and that. Okay, so here we go. Please, Tom, that's a good boy. So he got into the shoes, snarling. Mary was soon ready, and the 3 children set out for Sunday school, a place that Tom hated with his whole heart, but Sid and Mary were fond of it. Sorry I'm so close, but my tripod can't go back any further because of my stuff. Let's see. Sabbath school hours were from 9 to 10:30, and then church service. 2 of the children always remained for the sermon voluntarily, and the others always remained too for stronger reasons. The church's high-backed, uncushioned pews would seat about 300 persons. The edifice was but a small, plain affair, with a sort of pine board tree box on top of it for a steeple. At the door, Tom dropped back a step and accosted a Sunday-dressed comrade. "Say, Billy, got a yaller ticket?" "Yes." "What do you take for? What do you give?" "Piece of licorice and a fish hook." "Let's see 'em." Tom exhibited. They were satisfactory, and the property changed hands. Then Tom tendered a couple of white alleys for 3 red tickets. I'm not sure about... Oh, it says here, tickets for verses. A device used by many fundamentalist churches. It was very important for children to learn their Bible text thoroughly, and this system was a means of reward for the children who studied diligently. So that's what's up with the tickets. Okay, Tom tendered a couple of white alleys, those are marbles, for 3 red tickets and some small trifle or other for a couple of blue ones. He waylaid other boys as they came in and went on buying tickets of various colors, 10 or 15 minutes longer. He entered the church now with a swarm of clean and noisy boys and girls, proceeded to his seat and started a quarrel with the first boy that came handy. The teacher, a grave elderly man, interfered and then turned his back a moment, and Tom pulled a boy's hair in the next bench and was absorbed in his book when the boy turned around, stuck a pin in another boy presently, in order to hear him say, "Ouch!" and got a new reprimand from his teacher. Tom was a mess. Tom's whole class were of a pattern, restless, noisy, and troublesome. When they came to recite their lessons, not one of them knew his verses perfectly, but had to be prompted all along. However, they worried through, and each got his reward in small blue tickets, each with a passage of scripture on it. And each blue ticket was pay for 2 verses of recitation. 10 blue tickets equaled a red one and could be exchanged for it. 10 red tickets equaled a yellow one, and 10 yellow tickets, the superintendent gave a very plainly bound Bible worth 40 cents in those easy times to the pupil. How many of my readers would have the industry and application to memorize 2,000 verses, even for, I lost my place, even for this is Dore, D-O-R-E, with a little, I'm trying to think of some other words. What's that little slash mark over the E? An edition of the Bible with illustrations by the French painter, Gustave, whatever his name is. Doré, maybe. I don't know. And yet Mary had acquired 2 Bibles in this way. It was the patient work of 2 years, and a boy of German parentage had 1, 4, or 5. He once recited 3,000 verses without stopping. Maybe that'll be better. But the strain upon his mental faculties was too great, and he was little better than an idiot from that day forth. A grievous misfortune for the school, for on great occasions before company, the superintendent, as Tom expressed it, had always made this boy come out and spread himself. That means he had to show off his abilities for company. Only the older pupils managed to keep their tickets and stick to their tedious work long enough to get a Bible. And so the delivery of one of these prizes was a rare and noteworthy circumstance. The successful pupil was so great and conspicuous for that day that on the spot every scholar's heart was fired with fresh ambition that often lasted a couple of weeks. It's possible that Tom's mental stomach had nearly really hungered for one of those prizes, but unquestionably His entire being had for many a day longed for the glory and the eclat, loud praise, eclat. I've never heard of that word, that came with it. In due course, the superintendent stood up in front of the pulpit with a closed hymn book in his hand and his forefinger inserted between its leaves, and commanded attention. When a Sunday school superintendent makes his customary little speech, a hymn book in the hand is as necessary as is the inevitable sheet of music in the hand of a singer who stands forward on the platform and sings a solo at a concert. Though wise, a mystery, for neither the hymn book nor the sheet of music is ever referred to by the sufferer. This superintendent was a slim creature of 35 with a sandy goatee and short sandy hair. He wore a stiff standing collar whose upper edge almost reached his ears, and whose sharp points curved forward abreast the corners of his mouth. A fence that compelled a straight lookout ahead and a turning of the whole body when a side view was required. His chin, try not to shine the light up here, but still shine it on the book, was propped on a spreading cravat, which is a wide scarf-like necktie, probably worn kind of like this. Way cool squirrel scarf. I just love it. Which was broad and as long as a banknote and had fringed ends. His boot toes were turned sharply up in the fashion of the day, like sleigh runners, an effect patiently and laboriously produced by the young men by sitting with their toes pressed against a wall for hours together. Mr. Walters was very earnest, of mind and very sincere and honest at heart, and he held sacred things and places in such reverence, and so separated them from worldly matters, that unconsciously to himself his Sunday school voice had acquired a peculiar intonation, which was wholly absent on weekdays. He began after this fashion. Now, children, I want you all to sit up just as straight and pretty as you can, and give me all your attention for a minute or two. There, that's it. That's the way good little boys and girls should do. I see one little girl who is looking out of the window, and I'm afraid she thinks I'm out there somewhere. Perhaps up in one of those trees making a speech to the little birds. Applause of Twitter. I want to tell you how good it makes me feel to see so many bright, clean little faces assembled in a place like this, learning to do right and be good, and so forth and so on. It is not necessary to set down the rest of the oration. It was of a pattern which does not vary, and so it's familiar to us all. The latter third of the speech was marred by the resumption fights and other recreations among certain of the bad boys, and by fidgetings and whisperings that extended far and wide, washing even to the bases of isolated and incorruptible rocks like Sid and Mary. But now every sound ceased suddenly, with the subsidence of Mr. Walters' voice, and the conclusion of the speech was received with a burst of silent gratitude. A good part of the whispering had been occasioned by an event which was more or less rare, the entrance of visitors. Lawyer Thatcher, accompanied by a very feeble and aged man, a fine, portly, middle-aged gentleman with iron gray hair, and a dignified lady who was doubtless the latter's wife. The lady was leading a child. Tom had been restless and full of chafings and repinings. Conscience smitten, too, he could not meet Amy Lawrence's eye. Remember, he used to like Amy, but then he saw, it didn't say it, but it was Becky.